Welcome to Anything Cricket. Let's talk. COVID-19 has affected just about every aspect of life around the world. Sport has been no exception. As we battle against this very dangerous enemy, we, like so many others, are in the work from home mode. Nevertheless, we're here with the 12th episode in the second season of Anything Cricket, Let's Talk. And our guest today is Wendell Coppin, the manager of the successful Barbados cricket team in the 2020 West Indies Championship. When we come back, you're going to hear from Wendell Coppin.
Carib Vision is now included in the OneSpot Media subscription package. It's simple. Search for onespotmedia.com, then log in, scroll over to the Live TV and Radio tab, and select CVTV from the drop-down menu, and watch the latest in Caribbean culture, news, and sports. It's that simple. Carib Vision is now on OneSpot Media. Subscribe today.
onespotmedia.com.
Wendell, welcome to Anything Cricket. Let's talk. Certainly, first of all, let me congratulate you and the Barbados team on being successful in your bid to capture the West Indies Championship after playing second fiddle for so many years. Congratulations.
Well, Philip, thank you, and it is nice for you to be here with you. I know we discussed the possibility of meeting previously. I take it that the opportunity has now been afforded to all of us, and it is nice to be here. Yes, thanks a lot for your words of congratulation. It was a successful season, an eventful one. Prematurely ended with the global pandemic, COVID-19, and the coronavirus that has hit the world so devastatingly. But nevertheless, we were successful in our efforts since we set out at the beginning of the season. We had two goals in mind: one to win the 50-over championship, the Colonial Medical Super 50, and then certainly to win the WICB. The CWI, beg your pardon, CWI PCL 40 championship. So it was nice to eventually be crowned as champions.
Well, Wayne Holder is here with us as well, and I'm sure Wayne has some questions for you.
Well, good evening, Pace.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, Skip. How are you?
All right, my brother. Yes, man. And well, yes, I too would like to join with Philip in offering my sincerest congratulations to you and the Barbados Pride team. It has been a while in coming, I guess. How long have you been the manager now, Wendell?
In my fifth season.
The fifth season, and you've always played the bridesmaid until this season.
Second fiddle. But these things happen, Wayne. In building anything, it doesn't happen overnight. Normally, you're looking at putting any development structure in place. You're looking at a 5-year project. So one would think that 5 years we have ellipsed the whole development thrust that was set before us. So after 5 years, but I think there was a number of things that clicked in year 5 that would have helped us. Likewise, there would have been a number of things in my first 4 years, certainly, which would have restricted us, and we can look at those a little bit later.
But interestingly, you haven't had a very high turnover in personnel over those 5 years. If you notice, do you think that was instrumental in the success that you've been able to gain?
Well, certainly this year, 17 players took part in the 40-year championship. The lowest number of players, certainly in my time, One year we had 28 players that would have played. There was 23, I think 25 last season, 26 the season before. And the reason for that would have been the international players in and out. There were times when we had Kimar Roach for 2 games, Del Rich for 2 games, Craig Braffett for a game or 2, and he would in for a game, out for a game, depending on availability for international series. Shea Hope in for a game, out for a game, that type of thing. Roston Chase, again, Roston Chase and Shamar Brooks, the latest to gain West Indies colours.
Through some other forums in which I have been privy, there have been some questions surrounding the quality of the competition this year, the standard of play. What was your take on the quality of the competition this year?
I'm a little bit taken back by those questions, even if they would come from any other forum. The fact that Barbados would have played the type of cricket that they played this year, eclipsing all that came before them, certainly at Kensington Oval. And I suspect that what persons may think may be drawing that fact from is the fact that Barbados seems so superior at home. But if you look at the competition, you look at the composition of the teams, Guyana was only missing 3 players. Hetmeyer, Paul, and Shepherd, out of the players that would have played certainly over the last 5 years that I was manager. Trinidad was up and down. There were a couple of players that were in, that were out. They had some internal turmoil. The Leeward Islands, their team pretty much the same, with the exception of Cornwall, who would have been away for international duties, Azari Joseph. So to say that the competition was not of a high standard because Barbados went, I'm very surprised that comment would be made. However, needless to say, you can only play with who's in front of you. And Barbados did extremely well, given the fact that one of the things, Wayne, I think it was the turning point for us, was that the players themselves, in discussion last October, decided that they wanted to win the championship. And
yes, we got that. But I still wanted to get your take, your personal take on the quality of the competition, the standard of play, generally from what you would have observed.
Well, I mean, from what I've seen over the years, the quality of cricket was reasonably good. Trinidad played a superb game at home in Trinidad on some trying conditions. I don't think that and I'm certain that our players will admit that we did not bat as well as we could have. We did not bowl, certainly from a bowling unit, we did not bowl as well, allowing Trinidad to make 300, to give us 300 to win and batting in the second innings. You know, our bowling attack over the last couple of years has been our strong point. Again, we've had centuries made against us. Kotoy made a century here in Bridgetown. So to say it, I'm not so sure. The competition in my mind, I thought there was some very good cricket played throughout the region. If you look at the scores, there were scores of 400 and 500. So given that, I thought that a number of the players, Blackwood, for instance, he batted superbly well this season. You just have to look at the scores, man. You look at the scores and you will see Trinidad making 400 more than the Windward Islands making more than 300 in their second innings on more than one occasion. Trinidad making 300 again in their second innings. So there were a number of, you could see that from that the competition and the players stepped up somewhat. What in my opinion was different was that our younger players, our young hungry fast bowlers especially, was extremely outstanding. And as a result of that was the key. That was the key. Our young players, before we've always had to rely on our senior players, but they've been in and out. This year, we didn't have to rely so much on our senior players because most of our young players came to the fore.
I would be surprised that one would want to criticize the standard, given the fact that this year more countries would have had their West Indies players available to them for longer periods than in past years.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly didn't pick up the vibe that the standard was lower than of years gone by. I always think that it is incumbent on our international players to be available for the representative countries, which again it allows for better competition, but it also allows it gives more marketability to cricket in the region. One of my pet peeves is over the years that sufficient of our international players have not played in the regional tournaments. And if you look at the lack of sponsorship locally and across the region, one of those reasons would have to be the fact that as a potential sponsor, if I don't have the best players playing, I am not so sure that I want to put my money into a competition where the best players are exploiting their skills and services, and not exploiting, not necessarily the word, but are showcasing their skills elsewhere. So from my perspective, I thought that the competition, the fact that so many of the international players were around, like you said, for a long period, it lended itself to good, healthy competition. Again, I'd have to say that when you look at the fact that Barbados have lost so many players in recent years to international cricket, one would beg to reason why persons now would think that all of a sudden, because Barbados has the majority of their international players, all of a sudden the competition now becomes watered down.
A lot of people who make these comments too, some would not have seen a ball during the competition. So you gotta, sometimes you can't really, yes, you need to listen to criticism and take what you can from it, but there's some things that you take what little you can and throw away the rest, switch off them in the majority.
Well, yes, sure. If you're going to take the positives though, Wendell, one of the outcomes though of the absence of, well, a number of the top players, we know that West Indies, though it was white ball, would have been on tour, and a number of players would have been unavailable because of West Indies duties, even so. But because of this, we were able then to expose a number of other players who would not necessarily have had the opportunity to use your word, to showcase their talents. And maybe that could be seen as a positive.
No, but that is certainly a positive. But if you look at it, Wayne, Barbados has been in a privileged position over the last 5 years. We have been able to expose Shamar Holder, Keon Harding, Kevin Walcott, Shaquem Clark, to name a few.
Shane Mosley.
Yeah. But those are players who would not have otherwise been given an opportunity had our Carlos Brathwaite, Jason Holder, Jomel Warrican, Ashley Nurse, Sulman Bennett until a couple of years ago, Craig Brathwaite, Shane Dowrich, and the list goes on. Now, had those players been available to play for Barbados every year, certainly in my last 5 years, we would still be waiting for the emergence of a Keon Harding and a Shamar Holder. Now, what has happened this year is that this is their third season around senior team cricket. But this year, based on a lot of things that was in place in pre-season, those two in particular, and I'll speak about those two in particular first, Holder and Harding, because they worked in tandem. As a matter of fact, they even roommates. The fact that they were able to play for a few years now, and seeing the likes of Kemar Roach, Miguel Cummins on the field on a day-to-day basis, as a result of Holder and Harding being exposed as a result of the opportunities that were given because of international cricket by so many of our Barbadian players. They have been able to, again, hone their skills, and a lot of work was put into pre-season. And we saw the benefits of that work. I remember after the first game when Barbados lost in St. Vincent, a game, in my opinion, I didn't think that we should have lost that game. But I heard on numerous, perhaps you heard this also, Wayne, I heard on numerous platforms that Holder and Harding should not be playing in the same team at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't believe, because here is the first game of a season. You have 9 more first-class games to play. You've had these guys on contract for the last 2.5 years, and you are willing to throw them away after 4 days of cricket. Now, 24 days later, there are no household names in the Caribbean.
Well, it didn't even take that long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the point that I'm making, is that having been afforded that opportunity 3 years ago because of international cricket and the exposure to international cricket by so many of our Barbadian players, that afforded the likes of Holder and Harding to be established now and earmarked for West Indies colours.
Yes. If we may move to another area that has brought some criticism, and basically is not that we're trying to encourage negativity, but the opportunity for you to maybe shed some light. Over the years, it's not been a secret that Craig Brathwaite, so too Shamar Brooks, by the way, but Craig Brathwaite has been heavily criticized for his captaincy. And one of the criticisms has been that he's been too defensive. Basically, what I want to find out from you is, to what extent have you seen growth in Brathwaite in terms of that leadership position? And has that been a factor, do you think, in the improved performances here, or not really? So you're virtually addressing 2 things. One, has Brathwaite, to your mind, developed in any positive way as a leader? And 2, to what extent was his leadership a direct factor in the success of the team?
Now, the first part of the question, and I think Craig was cognizant of a number of the comments that were made from the various forums that they were made in. And he, by his own admission, said that, he wanted to, if it is that he has to learn about captaincy and to broaden his experience about captaincy. One of the things that he asked me way back in October, what was it that I thought that he needed to do in order to become a more effective captain? So I don't think that it is by chance. Mm-hmm. The question of negativity, and I've often asked this question, what makes one determine that a particular person or a decision maker made by a captain is one that can be deemed defensive? Because there's one slip, does that mean it's defensive? Because there's no short leg, does that mean it's defensive? Because there's a man out at point or a man out at square leg, does that signify that the captain is defensive? So I want to put that into context. One of the areas that I thought that Craig needed to improve on was his sternness. I think Craig was very nice, and I've said this to him, I think you're too nice a person. I said there are times as captain, as leader, where you have to make some tough decisions. And I said, I'm not so certain that your tough decision making always comes to the fore. And I give an example. If you believe that the best bowler to bowl at a particular time in the day with the best particular field to bowl to is X or Y, you need to stick to that. Yes, by all means, there's some leeway for the bowler, but as captain, it cannot always be seen that you are allowing the bowlers and allowing player to meander along, whereby you're hoping that the bowler gets it right or that things just fall into play. I said, for me, all the good captains that I know always had a plan A, plan B, and a plan C. I said, no, your plan A may very well be that you bat first in whatever happens. I said, but you have to then think about your other players. How does your other players cope with your decision from a batting perspective? Is it best for them to see how things go first of all, and then bat second? From a bowling perspective, is it that you want the particular bowlers to bowl in a particular area, and is the particular bowler able to bowl consistently in that area, given his skill sets? So knowing those things allow you then to always be one step ahead of the situation of the game. I'm not sure that he always was one step ahead. What we saw this year was an effort certainly to always be one step ahead. And as a result of that, the decisions that were made, one would then assume that Craig's captaincy was superior to that of other years. What I thought was that his tough decision making came more so to the fore than that of being the nice Craig Brathwaite, whom everybody loves to be around. And I give you that. Craig is fantastic in the dressing room. As a matter of fact, I say it well to all of our international players, but Craig as one of our players, if Craig Brathwaite turns up to practice tomorrow, I guarantee you that Kensington Oval is full. In the second part of the question, Philip, with regards to what I saw from him this year, he led from the front in every aspect. He demanded high standards from his players at practice, during the game, and even after the game. After every game, we had what we call the captain's social meeting time, of which all sorts of things were discussed. But the players, every player had to spend a certain amount of time at the captain's social. And in some cases, we were invited to the BCA boardroom, and that would have to be cut short, the invitation to the boardroom, because the captain's social took priority.
What happened at the captain's social? What do you say the captain's social explain?
Well, what happened was the discussion. It was more so a discussion. It was discussion. There was a meeting. We did a fines meeting. We have a fines meeting. We collect fines, and our fines will go to charity. There's a number of initiatives again that Craig has for our fines meeting and so on. So it's a fines meeting, social, and a gathering. At that meeting, there's lots of fun, but at the same time, players are free to express themselves openly, without any fear of trepidation from anyone.
Victimization, things like that.
Victimization. It truly is, as it is intended, a social where players can mingle, talk openly express about what has taken place over not just the game, but prior to the leading up to the game.
You said something earlier that I didn't quite get the sense of it. You said that if Craig turns up for practice, Kensington will be full. That's what you said? Full
of players. That is the magnet that he has.
Full of players, you mean the other players who are trying out for the team, basically?
The other players and players who also want to be part of, want to. Because we have a number of players from the different clubs. We have a couple of club players, and our coaching staff is absolutely brilliant about that. They don't discourage anyone from coming. Obviously, within reason, you come, and there's certain rules and guidelines. But if Craig Brathwaite is around, I guarantee you that most of these club players.
So the players take to him, then. That's what you're saying.
Oh yeah, and you know, and that is testimony to his leadership qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you talked about the other coaching staff. Well, the coaching staff, you are the manager, not necessarily a member
Not necessarily
of
coach at all, yeah.
staff. But I'm sure that you would want to take a few minutes or some time to recognize the part played by the background, by the backroom, by those backroom personnel.
Oh, most definitely. And our backroom personnel at home is a huge one. We have extended backroom staff. So we led by Emerson Trotman, Vaswet Drakes. Those are the two coaches that are assigned to the team once the team is on the road. But once we are at home, Corey Culmore comes in, Suleiman Ben comes in, Ryan Hines is on hand, Dexter Toppin is around. So there is a number of different persons who will lend their assistance, and our players are very receptive. We have a young group of players who are willing to learn. I saw Mike World sitting down and having a discussion with Tevin Walcott, and he said he saw Tevin on television during the Super 50. There were a couple of things that he saw, and he thought that he may very well be able to, not necessarily, had nothing to do with coaching, but he sat down again via Coach Trotman. He came in, had a chat with Emerson and said, look, you know, I'm willing to have a chat. I don't want to coach, and he made it quite clear that he was not encroaching in anyone's area of expertise. But there were a couple of things as a wicketkeeper that he observed. And he sat down with Tevin, had discussion about a couple of things. Desmond Haynes has been around, so one or two of the players have had discussion with him. I often invite Barbados players. I like the idea that our former Barbados players can come around and our players can pick their brains, so to speak, because I think that we have a wealth of experience, untapped experience that is here in this country, here certainly in the region. And I like to think that from time to time that our players can tap into that wealth of experience that we have around the region.
Well, obviously there is this air of uncertainty given the happenings of late. But this unit, as you mentioned, which has been a work in progress for approximately 5 years, what would you want to see happening going forward with this group?
I'd like that the West Indies continue to have international tours, certainly, which again would give opportunities to the likes of Tevin Walcott. I think now that I'm pretty certain that the Keon Hardins and Shamar holders have established themselves around the region. I don't think that the team need to expose them any further. I think persons have seen enough of those two, and if that they are going to get into international cricket, it will be very soon. Perhaps Shamar is more advanced than Keon at present, but I would like to think that both of them are on the horizon of international.
Don't let's forget Keon's outstanding performance in the Super 50 competition. So
exactly.
He's very much in the spotlight as far as the white ball is concerned.
Especially with the white ball. But I would like to think that certainly from the young players, Shane Mosley, Kyle Mears who's come home after 5 years out with the Windward Islands, and the role that he played was unbelievable. Over the years, what we perhaps have been missing is that dominant number 5, number 6 batsman who was able to accelerate an innings with impetus into the lower order, late afternoon, especially because we tend to grind the opposition out with Craig and the likes of Anthony Allen and Shane Mosley up front. What we have been missing over the years is that dominant player coming in at 5 or 6 and taking the game away from the opposition. Kyle has done that superbly well this season. But if we continue with this particular group of players, and only today that I was in discussion with Dr. Toppin at the PCA, our CEO, that we have come to a bottleneck currently. We have a plethora of young players between the age of 24 and 28 who are vying for the same place. If all continues at the rate that we have progressed this season, and I'll make the prediction here, Wayne, I can see Barbados winning the next 5 championships, hands down.
Well, that's a bold prediction, I must say, but of course, it said with the confidence of a person who is part and parcel of what is happening from the inside, Wendell.
A bold prediction, and also a very positive note, maybe on which we can actually close. Unless there are some burning things that you may want to mention, not to suggest that we can ever run out of discussion on this topic, Wendell. In fact, we've got to get you back to look more at the way forward, examine the way forward, because as Wayne alluded to just now, we're going through some tough times, not cricket-wise, but otherwise. Of course, COVID-19 is on everybody's lips, and everybody's thoughts, everybody's minds. But we will get past this, I'm sure. And then it's a question of the way forward, and that's something that I think you will be very, very quick to look at, because not only have you been managing now for quite some time, I think you said this is your 5th year, but you are also very much a qualified coach and an experienced coach as well. Am I not right?
That's correct, yeah.
So I would think from those two perspectives, as well, of course, being a past player and having the interest of Barbados and West Indies cricket at heart, I'm sure you're one who would have some very strong views on what comes next, so to speak.
Most certainly, but you know, in looking forward, ultimately, what I would like to see happen more often is the international players being available, and a lot of it has to do. I mean, one doesn't want to stop persons from making a living with the T20 leagues around the world and the different competitions, as well as international future tour programs, activities of CWI. The opportunity for our international players to play and to be seen in local cricket. When I say local, I'm talking West Indian, from a West Indian perspective. For the Guyanese public to see Jason Holder running in at Providence was a sight to behold. Perhaps two of the more experienced international bowlers from a West Indian perspective currently, in tandem running in at Providence. And if you didn't get goosebumps, then there is something wrong. And that is what we need to replicate. We need to see the Bravos, the Pollards, all of these fantastic cricketers on a regular basis taking part in our regional competitions. 1, it makes it much more competitive, and 2, it lends itself for marketability from a regional perspective. We always talk about the fortunes of Cricket West Indies and the finances and so on. And to lesser extent here in Barbados Cricket Association, if we are going to sell the product, we can only sell the product with the best players on a regular basis being on the park. I make no excuses for saying I love it when our international players are in, but I also love it when they're out, because it gives opportunity for us to expose young talent, which we have plenty of at the moment.
Fair enough. You're not going to get any argument from me. Any quick comments from you, Ben, before we wrap up?
If I may ask one final question, it will be, Wendell. The Professional Cricket League at its inception would have been set up primarily to better prepare regional players for the next level. From your take, both the 50 over and the 40, have we been able to meet those targets, attain that intention?
Not totally. I don't think so totally. And I think a lot of it has to do with the selection of the squads in the first place. I don't think that if you look at all the squads around the region, I don't think that they're equally competitive. You looked at Guyana over the last few years. Guyana was always competitive, but then you had one or two others who weren't. You looked at Barbados this year, who was extremely competitive, but then there were one or two others who weren't. And I think it starts from the selection. What I would like, and I'm sure that Cricket West Indies also in its inception in the setup was hoping for, was that the best players were selected in the various franchises. So you have a situation where some of the best players in the region are not playing because of non-selection in some cases in their territory and or the other territories. I think what we have to look at is opportunity for players over the course of the season. What I would like to see, and I would put into my report, the manager's review report, a transfer system whereby during the course of the season, after game 3 in the 4-day competition, if Wayne Holder is contracted with Barbados and Barbados has no places available for Wayne Holder, that he can transfer to the Windwards, Leewards, Guyana, Trinidad, or Jamaica, and vice versa. If Barbados is short of a leg spinner and Trinidad has 4 leg spinners, and Barbados is desperate to have a leg spinner in their setup, and one is available, that Barbados would take that opportunity to grab one of the leg spinners to get on the park. What I think has happened because of nationalism, persons tend to stick with homegrown players at the expense of the best players being on the park.
And Wendell, if you're looking for a leg spinner, I would recommend look no further than Philip Hackett.
But wait, that laughter seems to be a laughter suggesting that your idea is not a good one. I've never seen laughter laugh so hard to me.
I know that you're very good at recruiting. You certainly have an eye for
you see,
talent.
Now you see why you have to come back. that is a topic for another discussion.
You have an eye for talent. So
I think Wayne was actually hoping, Wendell, that my response to that would be if you're looking for a wicketkeeper, call Wayne Holder. But I'm not going to walk into
that. Philip, Wendell knows what he's talking about. And you will hear about it next time we have Wendell.
The next time.
You will hear the story behind that. Why he said that.
Why he said what?
Indeed.
Why he said that Wayne Holder has an eye for talent.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
The next time.
Next time.
We leave that for next time.
I look forward to that. So, Wendell, thanks very much for joining us on Anything Cricket Let's Talk. And we certainly look forward to having you back. So once again, on behalf of the entire Anything Cricket Let's Talk team, congratulations to you and the Barbados team on being the champions for 2020.
Carib Vision is now included in the OneSpot Media subscription package. It's simple. Search for onespotmedia.com, then log in, scroll over to the Live TV and Radio tab, and select CVTV from the drop-down menu, and watch the latest in Caribbean culture, news, and sports. It's that simple. Carib Vision is now on OneSpot Media. Subscribe today.
onespotmedia.com.
That's our show. Thanks for watching. Join us again soon for another episode of Anything Cricket Let's Talk.